The world has just been ravaged by war, but already a new threat emerges. Ragnarok, the end of all life, is imminent, and we are called upon to make one final stand to protect the remnants of a devastated world. Welcome to Valkyrie Elysium. Hello, I am Gray, and before we begin, I would like to point out some variables prior to my critique. First of all, I bought this game at full price at $60 for the PlayStation 5, so I am under the assumption that I am playing the game at its best as of this recording. Secondly, I played this game on the hard difficulty, with the difference from that of the normal difficulty of enemies having more health and dealing more damage. Lastly, in terms of the game's completion, I have completed 72% of the trophies, finished the main story and all the subquests, fully upgraded all the skill trees, as well as fully upgrading all weapons save 2, and I have collected all hollow and verdant blossoms. I believe that I have played enough of the game to be able to critique it fairly. With that out of the way, we can begin. Do take note that I will be discussing the story in great length and detail, so if you do not wish to be spoiled or any spoilers whatsoever, do take note that this is a spoiler warning. Again, this is a spoiler warning. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Before the existence of humanity, Odin, Lord of all gods, defeated the primeval giant Ymir, resulting in the birth of the world. Under Yggdrasil, the world tree, are 3 realms: Asgard, home of the gods; Midgard, the dwelling place of humans; and Niflheim, the realm of the dead. For a time, all seemed well until the wolf Fenrir wreaked havoc upon Asgard. To safeguard all life, Odin fought against Fenrir that would embroil the world into war and utter destruction. After some time, both parties agreed to end the fighting. However, not long afterwards, the prophecy of Ragnarok, the end of the world, is fast approaching. In response, Odin, still suffering from his injuries against Fenrir, creates the Valkyrie to purify souls in Midgard to combat Ragnarok, and thus our story begins.
That is why I created you, my vessel of peace. I, Odin All-Father, command you. Become my tool of intervention, and save this world from doom.
As you command.
Finally, after 16 years, we get a new Valkyrie game. As much as I wanted it to maintain its unique turn-based combat, here it is as an action role-playing game. As a fan of the series playing both Valkyrie Profile 1 and 2, know that I badly wanted this franchise to make a comeback. But alas, given the game's numerous issues, I need to critique the game more objectively and provide you with a sound recommendation. So sit back as I go through the game with extensive detail. Our quest to save the world starts in the Beals territory. It is here where we begin to have a mastery of the basic combat mechanics. You have the standard normal attack by pressing square, the heavy transition attack with the triangle button, the X button to jump, circle button to evade, and L1 to guard incoming attacks. The L2 button executes the Soul Chain command. To put it simply, this function serves as your grappling hook to reach areas or terrain that are otherwise normally unreachable. In combat, it is also a convenient method to quickly charge to your opponent and attack. Pressing and holding the R2 button will provide you access to divine arts or spells. You can equip up to 4 divine arts simultaneously and map them with the 4 face buttons depending on your preference. Do note that you have limited use of divine arts depending on your art gauge indicated below the green health gauge. How much of your art gauge is consumed is dependent on the potency of the spell you cast. It is optimal to only use divine arts to exploit the elemental weakness of your opponents. More on this later. As you progress in the map per chapter, you will be encountering collectibles called Hollow Blossoms. These are memories of souls of the dead in their final moments manifesting as blue flowers. The amount you collect per chapter varies between 12 to 30 of them. It may seem intimidating to collect that many per chapter, but do not worry. They are indicated in your map by pressing the touchpad. You can easily spot them via the blue dots in the map. So far, I have discussed the basic mechanics of the game. Looking at it at face value, this seems to be an action RPG that has the potential to go in-depth later on. Unfortunately, this cannot be further from the truth, as I will explain not too far from now. This is also where the game's red flags begin to permeate. While I understand the need for collectibles to extend the length of a game, given today's technology and standards, I expect such collectibles to be far more immersive. Perhaps in this game, in the form of voiced dialogue and art that visualizes the soul's final memories. I would also greatly appreciate if the writers placed more effort into the dialogue of these souls. Person touched by the truth. Ah! Really? That's it? Come on. Come on, Soleil. You can do better than that. In the context of combat progression, one of the game's mechanics is the skill tree system, where the trees are divided into three, namely attack, defense, and support. As their names imply, the attack skill tree provides perks such as physical and magical damage. The defense skill tree provides additional protection from damage. Lastly, the support skill tree provides various utility skills and abilities, such as the double jump, double evade, and additional health. The second mechanic of combat progression is the weapon enhancement system, where each weapon in your possession can increase in rank from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest. With each rank increase until around rank 7, the weapon you upgrade will increase in strength while giving you access to new combos. The remaining 3 ranks will simply increase the weapon's strength. The resources used to unlock new skills and abilities in the skill trees, along with enhancing your weapons, are obtained through various gems. Gems can be obtained from a variety of sources, such as killing monsters, destroying crates and barrels, along with picking up chests. While a very basic progression system for an action game, there's a reason why the developers set the gems in multiple variations, instead of just one currency. I will elaborate more on this later. Now that I have explained most of the fundamental game mechanics, it's time I gave my thoughts on the gameplay itself. As I continue to navigate around Beals, I encounter a variety of enemies also known as the Undead. From lamp-holding demons, ghostly infantry equipped with various weapons, gargoyles, and even dragons. As of Chapter 1, these opponents were not difficult to take down, and I only possessed one weapon, which is the standard sword. So initially I was alright with my impressions with the game. Maybe it was a little redundant with excessive combat with little variation of the approach in combat, but I forgave it at that point given it was Chapter 1 and was still part of the demo at the time. I also stumbled upon some chests that contained various loot, such as gems, but what stood out more since it was Chapter 1 were the existence of potions in the game. You can use potions by either pressing pause in the menu and using them from there, or you can set a shortcut on your D-pad by mapping it with the left or down button. Potion effects fall into 3 categories. First is to replenish your health, soul, or arts gauge. More on the soul gauge later on. The second category is to temporarily boost your stats, whether it is your strength, magic, or defense. The final category is to cure status ailments. I will discuss status effects later on as well. In this section, I believe I should highlight one of the most negative and backwards feature of this game, and that is the subquests feature. You would think that the developers at this point would have mastered how to execute side quests, but apparently not in this game. Early on in my playthrough, I encounter a lost soul seeking help from its plight. This has become to be what will be known as subquests. Fundamentally speaking, it is only natural for a JRPG to have these to increase the game length. The implementation, however, is flawed. In order for you to start the subquest, you have to first finish the story chapter, then upon return to Valhalla, which serves as your hub or base of operations, only then can you trigger the subquest, and then the game will take you to a different start and endpoint of the same map as the story chapter you just finished, but at a cut down version of the map. Also take note that these subquests can only be done one at a time rather than all of them at once. This is brazenly lazy method to artificially pad out the game's length, and could have easily been implemented as a quest while performing the story chapter. Disappointing as the execution of the subquests are, this is not yet the end of all the methodologies that Soleil has implemented in the game. Rest assured when I say that there will be more. As I pressed further, I stumbled upon an abandoned village and crossed paths with a mysterious man.
Is that? A human? What are you doing here? No matter. I mustn't be distracted.
Going deeper in the village, eventually I make my way to a large castle riddled with more enemies that I have encountered previously. Not long after, I am impeded by a door that is locked by 2 large chains that I needed to break. Suffice to say, the breaking of chain cutscene lasted way more than it should have. A minor detail, but one that should have been accounted for nonetheless. One chain. Yeah, this cutscene lasts way too long. Look at how long the cutscene. It's following the chain. This could have been 5 seconds shorter. As I break the other chain, killing more undead, collecting more hollow blossoms, gems, potions, and subquests, I eventually make my way to the deepest part of the castle, and witnessed what was lying in wait.
The giant undead entity. No, wait. It's a Naglfar. Wretched soul, by Odin's command, you shall be purified.
It was the first of many boss fights, creatures also known as the Naglfar, strong evil monsters that are the manifestations of a strong soul that has succumbed to evil. Notice the symbol between the two bars on top. You might have noticed this on the other opponents that I have fought prior. That symbol in the middle is the element that the target enemy is weak against. In this case, it is the holy element. The game was nice enough to give us a divine art called Grave Edge that possesses the holy element, which you will see me use in this fight. As I use the Grave Edge, notice the bar at the left filling up. It gradually fills up as you use divine arts that have the element that the enemy is weak against. Once it is filled, the enemy will be in the crushed status, leaving you to deal massive damage. If I use Grave Edge one more time, it will also cause the enemy to be immobile, further giving you more time to deal damage freely. Here is a pro tip as I demonstrated here. Prior to making the enemy immobile, be sure to take advantage first of the crushed state, and almost before the left bar gets empty, use the divine art that the enemy is weak against to immobilize them. This allows you to deal as much damage as possible while maximizing the stun time of your opponent. The first Naglfar fight was pretty easy and straightforward. Little did I know that most of the boss fights will turn out to be this way. Simply charge the boss, use the element that it is weak against, until it dies. Again, another disappointment compared to the game's predecessors. After the fall of the Naglfar, we find the soul that caused it to appear to begin with.
Speak. Who or what are you?
I am... My name is Egon.
How is it that you became a Naglfar?
Naglfar?
Valkyrie and Egon share acquaintances, and Valkyrie decides to take his soul to Odin to learn more. Upon returning to Odin, he explains that Egon is an Harrier, powerful soul called upon to lend their strength in Valkyrie's quest. Odin then orders us to seek out the remaining memories of Egon, so that he may serve us. Now, I will be frank. The method of which the Harrier stories are told in this game is a far cry compared to Valkyrie Profile 1 and 2. Therefore, I will only give a brief description on their story, as I honestly was not paying attention. Again, another missed opportunity for the game. After doing the subquests I received in Chapter 1, which is what I mentioned earlier is a cutout version of the map, I proceed to Chapter 2. Much to my dismay, it is still the same map as Chapter 1, save a different start and end point. I continue to fight the same opponents as I did in Chapter 1. The only significant difference is that I am using the weapon I have unlocked beating the Naglfar. In an effort for me not to butcher the weapon names in this game, I will just call the weapons as how I would describe them, which in this case is the Rapier. A faster version of the standard sword, but significantly weaker. Each weapon you use will have what is called the weapon proficiency. The rank of the proficiency increases in rank, and is measured by letters such as G, F, E, D, C, B, A, S, double S, and triple S. This is another missed opportunity. As far as I'm aware, its only significance is that it unlocks particular skills in the skill tree, as some of them have a minimum weapon rank requirement. If you are a trophy hunter, do take note that it takes significant grinding to bring all the weapons up to triple S rank. Notice that there is a pop-up called Weapon Weakness each time I strike enemies. Now that we have more than one weapon, it is time I explain this mechanic. To simply put it, each opponent has a weapon weakness. Its function is to deal greater damage, as well as make it easier to stagger your opponents. This is good as it encourages experimentation with your weapons. However, I wish that this mechanic had more depth, such as weapon switching in between to pull off more devastating combos, or to be more tactical when attacking. It is a shame that all weapons have the same combos as you increase their rank. It would have been far more compelling if each weapon has its own unique combo sets, similarly to the likes of Devil May Cry. This results in weapons having the same feel, which defeats the purpose of weapon variety. It is also exacerbated later on, as clearly the superior option is elemental weaknesses over weapon weaknesses. In order to recruit Einherjars, you must pick up items in the map called relics. These are iconic objects of the respective Einherjar you are aiming to recruit. Sounds promising in theory, but again Soleil's execution is subpar to say the least, as these relics only serve as waypoints to tell you where to go next, as it is literally not possible to progress in the map if you do not pick these up. Suffice to say, it would have been far more compelling had the relics shown cutscene flashbacks of the Einherjar's backstory. What was done instead is the use of dull, voiced one-liners in the middle of battle, which I ended up not hearing because I was busy fighting the monsters. Hence why I do not know the backstories of the Einherjars. Not long after, I finally retrieve Egon's final relic and a cutscene ensues. All I know is he is a knight commander who failed to protect people and wish he could do more. Valkyrie then recruits him to help fight and save the world.
And join me.
Now with our first Einherjar, I can now explain how they work. They are summoned into battle similarly to how you cast Divine Arts, but you instead press and hold the R1 button, then press the face button of which they are mapped. Unlike Divine Arts, you will likely not need to remap Einherjars, as there are only a total of 4 of them in the game. Yes, you heard correctly. There are only 4 Einherjars in the game, another disappointment compared to the game's predecessors. An Einherjar's attacks can be divided into 2 categories, namely Einherjar attacks and normal moves. Einherjar attacks is the move the Einherjar makes upon summoning them to your opponent. Normal moves is the attack they use to assist you to fight your opponents in battle. Also take note that Einherjars consume your soul gauge, which is the blue bar between your health and arts gauge. They remain in the field of battle for a limited time before you need to summon them again should you desire. But on a positive note, they are invulnerable, so you do not need to worry about their health other than your own. Each Einherjar is also attributed to one element. For Egon's case, it is the lightning element. By summoning Einherjar, your weapon will also be imbued with the element of that particular Einherjar. For example, by summoning Egon, my sword is now infused with the lightning element, which can be useful against foes that are weak against the lightning element. Not long after recruiting Egon, we are attacked by an unknown assailant. She also appears to be a Valkyrie, but in black armor. She claims that there are details that we do not yet know.
How hopelessly clueless you still are. That must mean you're one of his new creations. Please allow me to conduct a small test of your metal.
And so begins a battle between 2 Valkyries. It was also the chance for me to use Egon for the first time. He certainly helped in making the battle significantly easier. Not long after, we managed to defeat the assailant. I thought so.
But why would another Valkyrie try to hinder me?
Same question.
Perhaps I should ask why you, a Valkyrie, need to ask such a trivial question.
Explain yourself.
I am Hilde, and I don't doubt that we shall cross paths again. In due time.
We return to report to Odin of this incident. He informs us to pay no mind for now, and to proceed with purifying more souls. We are now in Chapter 3, and finally in an entirely new map. We are now at the Goldbo territory. And to start things off, let me say that this Valkyrie is the most unlikable, edgy, and obnoxious of all the games.
A wander round.
It was just a joke. Don't look at me like that.
We have been entrusted to save the world. Any deviation from our duty is unacceptable.
You know what she reminds me of?
I get it. I do.
Let us
She
finish.
comes first. I haven't forgotten. No deviations. I guess we're really pushed up against the wall.
That's kind of like a Galadriel Rings of Power moment. Trust me when I say it gets worse later on in the story. It gets to the point that she continuously makes antithesis statements of her actual existence. Not far off from the starting point, we stumble upon trees that need to be purified. To be blunt, it serves as nothing more than another waypoint for this chapter, similarly to collecting Einherjar relics. There are instances that you should purify it before it gets destroyed by the undead, but failure to do so is of no consequence, apart from losing out on gems that are easily obtained through other means. As I venture further, I stumble upon a new opponent, an ice elemental apparition. Pretty straightforward to defeat upon using my firebolt spell. It was also here that I was introduced to runes. Runes are buffs that you can place in your weapons, such as additional physical damage. But in all honesty, this mechanic can be ignored entirely, as I failed to even notice if runes had an impact in my overall gameplay experience. It was also in this chapter that I was introduced to a new collectible called Verdant Blossoms. Similarly to Hollow Blossoms, Verdant Blossoms are flowers that you can collect in the chapter. What makes them different, however, is that they are far fewer and their messages cannot be read, unlike their blue counterpart. It may seem odd for now, but its relevance will be revealed much later. Verdant Blossoms are represented with the green dots in the map. It is clear that Soleil wanted to introduce mechanics that break the ice of combat. However, its implementation definitely needed more time in the oven, which I will now demonstrate. Occasionally, you will encounter environmental obstacles that will impede your path or prevent you from progressing further. In order to get through such blockades, you will need to use your Einherjars. This is another execution blunder, as all you will be required to do is target the obstacle by pressing the R3 button and summon the required Einherjar. The Einherjar will even tell you themselves that they are the one you will need. This defeats the purpose of a puzzle and just serves to be a nuisance. Another obstacle set in your path are the locked doors. In the context of gameplay loop, locked doors are designed to challenge players to seek out the object, or method of which to bypass the said door. Whether the player needs to search for it in a different location, or return to it sometime later in the game. Even this, however, is something that Soleil needs to learn, as most of the keys of the locked doors are so near to them, it may as well have been omitted entirely. Further down the line, we once again meet the man we encountered in Beals.
Don't see many people around here these days. Are you travelers?
Yes, that's right. We're traveling together. I'm Egan. This is Maria. And you are?
I'm Armand. I'm actually a traveler too. I'm out here looking for something. Despite the world being in the state it is.
We come to know this mysterious man to be Armand. He then offers us to guide us to the location of more soul trees, which the Valkyrie and Egon accept. Sometime after being escorted by Armand to the soul trees, we are impeded by another foe.
Well, here it is. This is what you were looking for, right?
Yes, this is it, no doubt. This is incredible.
You've seen it twice already, man. Actually, 3 times.
Wait,
What's wrong?
a Naglfar.
Wow. Came out of nowhere.
I shall send you to the All-Father.
Another Naglfar stands in our way. A multiple-headed Hydra-like creature that has ice-based attacks and spells. This time around, it is weak to the fire element, and thus that was the divine art I casted. I utilized the same tactic from that of the first Naglfar. Stun it with the element that it is weak against, charge in and throw as much attacks as I can, and dodge its attacks by jumping and evading. I also casted the heal divine art from time to time, as I received damage from some of its attacks. Rinse and repeat, I eventually take it down. Combat in a mine is groundbreaking. Another Einherjar. With the defeat of the Naglfar, we meet a soul named Cypher. Knowing of his potential, Valkyrie attempts to recruit him as an Einherjar. Cypher, however, rejects Valkyrie and disappears. Wondering of his rejection, Valkyrie decides to pursue him, leaving Armand to continue on his mysterious search for the time being. As Armand leaves, Valkyrie experiences a headache in what seems to be a flashback.
Hey, are you okay?
Huh?
Oh, flashback.
What am I? How did I get this? Huh. What happened? I can't remember a thing. I need to get this looked at. At least I'm still able to walk. I just can't shake this feeling that I'm forgetting something. Something really important. Who's there? Hey, you! What are you?
Valkyrie regains consciousness and chooses to ignore it for now, and give chase to Cypher. Before the pursuit, a new weapon has been unlocked, the first of 3 spears. It does have great strength, but far too slow for my liking. In my playthrough, I only used it to achieve the weapon proficiency required to unlock an ability in the skill tree. As I ventured further into the chapter, I discovered that Soleil has created another means to force players to repeat the chapter. Do note that this persists in other chapters as well. Realizing that I missed some hollow blossoms in a previous area of the map, I decided to turn back and return to be able to obtain them. However, to my surprise, this happens. Harrier. Oh god. Why? Do they not like their own levels? As you can see, the game suddenly prohibits me from returning to a previous area for no apparent reason. Missed a hollow or verdant blossom prior? Too bad. You need to repeat the story chapter in its entirety again before you have the chance to collect it. Another disappointing means to increase the playtime. Speaking of hollow blossoms, there is one particular blossom that can only be obtained in a very obscure manner. I literally had to research how to obtain it. And yes, I needed to do the story chapter again for me to obtain it. As I fight through more undead, picked up more hollow blossoms, purified more soul trees, collected more gems, subquests, and Cypher's relics, I eventually make my way to him. Cypher explains that he does not see himself as a warrior, but wishes to redeem himself from his failures in his life. Valkyrie tells him that he can do so as her Einherjar. With the help of Egon, Cypher eventually agrees, and joins Valkyrie in her quest. Yeah, Vanu was just talking about Shadow the Hedgehog. He was explaining to me the game mechanics. About how much the story can branch out per level. With our second Einherjar recruited, we report back to Odin. He is pleased with our progress and subsequently gives us additional orders. In order to combat Ragnarok, Odin will require the 4 gifts.
Yeah, the divine spear.
Okay.
Leverheen, the demon sword. Draupnir, the golden band. And lastly, Hjalmahorn, the mighty horn. These artifacts were kept safe in Asgard for eons, but they were lost in Midgard in the disarray of...
After slogging through more subquests and unlocking another weapon, the Great Sword, I proceed to Chapter 4. And much to my disappointment, but no longer surprising at this point, it is the same map as Chapter 3. As I made my way, I once again encounter Hilde, the Black Valkyrie, then following with Round 2. What do you think?
Oh, you have another Harrier. You have done well to find them with Midgard in such disarray. Well, your certainly livelier than the last time we met.
You stand in the way of the All-Father. For that, you must be put to death.
Once again, we manage to defeat her. But she also again gets away and imparts a message.
To spare another of Odin's victims.
What did she mean? Another of Odin's victims.
As I make my way further, I reach the end point of the map, and we are greeted by another foe.
I can sense a great power nearby.
Perhaps the gift has sunk to the bottom.
Wait. Something's coming.
Great! More of the same! That's the same monster with a different color! We already fought that thing! Except it was colored green earlier.
Are those?
Now it's colored blue! In reference to my commentating, here are some clips of the monster that I was pertaining to.
Some souls cannot be saved. How predictable. Be easy enough.
It is common for JRPGs to recycle their monster design, specifically by changing the color scheme, most especially if there are numerous types of monsters and designs. But I believe we are far too early for it to be deemed numerous, which is why I believe the pacing of this video will be a lot faster moving forward, as I do not want to repeat the same issues over and over. Eventually, I managed to defeat the Naglfar, and successfully obtain one of the 4 gifts, Gungnir. Odin is pleased with this development and commands us to continue. Our journey takes us to the snowy lands of Lucarda territory, where I fight the same undead that I fought before, but with either a new color or with a little more added chunks of armor. This is also the chapter where I was taught of buffs and debuffs. To simply put it, buffs increase your combat prowess. This is obtained through potions such as might, magic, and guard potions. Debuffs, on the other hand, are status effects that the undead can inflict on you, such as getting stunned or unable to cast divine arts or summon Harrier. To cure debuffs, you can just wait until it disappears or use the banish potion, which is the 3rd category when I mentioned potions fall into 3 categories. As I venture further, I pick up relics of a new individual. We all know what that means at this point. What is more intriguing is we once again encounter our favorite NPC, Armand, in a very interesting location. I will let the video speak for itself. Amazing AI and pathfinding. Finally! There's literally a dude here this whole time. Hello? look at that purple one. Look at the purple one. This is so BS. It is simply baffling with how much lack of attention to detail Soleil is with the development of this game. I do hope I have presented enough evidence to suggest that somewhere along at this point in my playthrough, I felt burnout, and not just for cases such as this, but as well as the repetitive combat that never evolved over time. I have been fighting the same monsters ever since the game started. Subquests are ever increasing, and remember, I can only do them one at a time. So indeed it requires a certain level of resiliency to continue forward. Anyway, let us continue. As I make my way into town, I was introduced to another Naglfar. You could say I spotted this from afar, figuratively and literally. Unbelievable. Okay. Let me look around first. Once I have fully got my bearings, I proceeded to face off with the Naglfar with the same tactics as always. It's a cutscene, but it detected that I'm supposed to go to
I
battle.
know it in my heart. You are me. Consumed by hatred. Unable to die with honor. And driven mad. But to lose all reason and attack defenseless people.
Yeah, I need to research their stories.
I will end you.
Because I don't know their stories. I need to check their stories. Once I start doing the review. At least I need to tell them the gist. I need to tell people the gist of their stories.
Ready yourself.
Fast forward to this critique, and I could not muster the courage to check back on their backstories. All I know is this new Harrier, Christopher, is what I believe to be both a knight and a princess. With the aid of Cypher, she also joins the team.
As a soul. Very well. Then I pledge my
That's why I
life
prefer
to
my
you
JRPGs on console.
until the very end.
I don't have a high-end PC anyway.
Join me and venture onto a new path beyond death itself.
True. After we recruit our third Harrier, we once again transition to Armand, as he has also made it to town.
Hey! You remember me? I'm touched.
Dude, we already met.
What has brought you to this place?
We already met in the
I
stage.
come here pretty regularly to bring supplies. You know, medicine, tools, stuff that's hard to come by. Times are tougher than they've ever been. I just thought I could help by running a few errands for people.
That's damn good of you. You do all that while you're out there searching for whatever it is.
Well,
Yeah,
in
I
return,
can
you get
see where the
places
money
and
went.
supplies, so really everyone wins.
Does it not occur to you that travelling around like that only heightens your risk of
Oh, don't worry, Cypher.
death?
The monster just
We all
don't
die
attack him.
someday.
The monsters don't
Shy
attack
away
him.
from danger or not. The way I see it, I may as well do something while I'm here.
You have been lucky so far,
I waited for a minute, they didn't attack him.
but luck is fickle. You would be wise to abandon this dangerous journey and live in peace.
He's fine,
I
guys.
still
He
can.
doesn't get attacked.
I appreciate you trying to look out for me. But I can't stop until I
Yeah, it
find
looks like
someone
some kind of
better.
crossbow thingy.
And just what is it that compels you so?
I'll tell you someday. I promise. I have a feeling we'll meet again somewhere. Well, see you.
You may be wondering why I am showing a lot of footage of Armand, but believe me when I say this will come into play much later on. Not long after, Valkyrie experiences another flashback.
There are terrible monsters in that fortress, lad. You realise that, don't you? Why trouble yourself going to such a dangerous place?
I'm looking for someone.
Is that right? And what kind of person would that be?
I don't actually know. I've forgotten who they were.
Are you mad?
I just know that they were someone very special to me.
The flashback tells a story of a man searching for someone who was special to him. Valkyrie once again lets it slide and proceeds to search for the gifts. Remember when I said that this is the most obnoxious Valkyrie of them all? This is where I demonstrate the absurdity of her writing. Given the imminent approach of Ragnarok, It is her responsibility to recruit Einherjars and to be a symbol of hope. Yet in this game, she shows little sympathy for the people and does not even give respect or regard for human life.
And as gods, the strongest of us all, it makes sense that the Valkyrie have a responsibility to protect the people.
Exactly!
I have been tasked with preventing the destruction of the world. I cannot spare my attention to each individual.
Then what's the
Of
point?
course, saving the world from destruction is of the
What's the
utmost
point if you don't
importance.
give a crap about everyone else?
But what meaning is there in saving the world if no one is left to live within it?
At the end of Lucarda, the team stumbles upon a horde of undead guarding one of the gifts. Fighting undead I have already faced numerous times. I run through them as per usual and retrieve the gift, Draupnir. Upon our return to Valhalla, I have now received access to the arena. You can consider this a subquest, as all it entails is getting to fight your Einherjar in one-on-one battles in exchange for high-tier divine arts. I was hoping that the arena battles would be more engaging. Initially, I thought this was the case with the battle against Christopher, but eventually I discovered that all I needed to do was parry and counter her attacks. Eventually, it just became nothing out of the ordinary. We then report back to Odin of our progress. He is pleased with this and suggests that the next gift lies in the Romali territory. Before I head to Romali territory, I would like to highlight the Einherjar subquests. Note that this is different from the arena, with the key difference is that there are 3 of them per Einherjar. Remember that an Einherjar has Einherjar attacks and normal moves. Each Einherjar has a total of 4 of each of them, with 3 of them being locked until you complete the Einherjar subquests. Again, this is a wasted potential, as the first 2 of them are composed of uninteresting dialogue and just slay a couple of waves of undead. Their final subquest is simply a strengthened version of when we fought them as a Naglfar. As I venture into Romalian territory, I got the impression that the map design is not very different from Beale's, which is the map in chapters 1 and 2. As per usual, I fight off the same monsters but with a different color scheme. What makes this chapter extra tedious is the map layout, as this chapter involves elevation of the same spot. Think of it similarly to a tall commercial building where one floor is directly above another. I have no issues with this type of level design, but in this case, Soleil has once again been inept in its execution, as the elevation does not show in the map. This particularly becomes troublesome when you hunt for hollow and verdant blossoms. I probably spent more time in this chapter than I should have, as I got confused thinking that I missed some of them in the map. It turns out I just needed to go ahead, and I eventually ended in the same area, but only at a higher terrain, and that was where I spotted the blossoms. It would have been far more intuitive had the map layout considered elevation as well. Another mechanic makes its return to the chapter. Instead of the soul trees in the Galdba territory, this time around, it is the spirit blooms. Rather than trying to purify souls, you instead need to cleanse them in order for them to disappear and stop them from impeding your path. All you need to do is get near to them and hold the L2 button, not unlike the soul trees. Once again, another shoehorned and unnecessary mechanic. As I pushed further into the chapter, I eventually meet our final Einherjar, Taika, and thus also begins the relic hunting. Before I continue, I would like to talk more about combat progression, particularly about gems. If you recall, I mentioned earlier that gems come in the form of multiple variations. The reason why it was done this way is to ensure that you do not overlevel. Soleil was well aware that it is extremely easy to max out the skill trees and weapon enhancement. In order to combat this, the number of gems in the game is spread to multiple types. To mitigate getting too powerful, they only provide access to other gems such as the ruby, silver, black, and rainbow gems in later chapters. Although I appreciate the accessibility of farming and grinding, this mechanic once again feels artificial, and a more robust progression system could have been implemented. As I make my way through the tedious map design, cleansing the spirit blooms, and collecting Taika's relics, I inevitably encounter her Naglfar.
For what you have done. Taika, it is time for you to learn what lies ahead for your soul.
You mean I'm dead?
It is a Naglfar, formed from a fragment of your soul.
Yes, I can sense myself within it. It is me, though my mind is utterly lost, crippled by regret.
The pain was too much for your human body to contain. But fear not. Our Valkyrie here will ease its burden.
We shall purify.
I have no idea. Still, by now, you should already know how it went. And believe me when I say I wish it were any different.
You may have perished, but your journey shall begin once more, together with us.
Then the path I must take is
And
clear to
we
me.
got the fire element. Now that we have all 4 Einherjars, I would like to reiterate what I mentioned earlier. Note that each Einherjar holds a particular element. Thunder for Egon, Ice for Cypher, Holy for Christopher, and Fire for Taika. At this point, all elemental attacks are now in my possession, and enemies come in droves with varying elements. Therefore, it is easier to take advantage of their elemental weaknesses over their weapon weaknesses. This is because that it is far easier to summon Einherjar and cast Divine Arts. Rather than trying to guess which weapon each undead is weak against, I highly recommend just choosing the weapon of your choice among the 6 available weapons. Only raise the proficiency of the weapon if you need to unlock an ability in the skill tree. With our final Einherjar in tow, we proceed to search for the 3rd gift, only to be greeted by both an old and new acquaintance.
And Harrier I see in your roster. Your quest to save the world must be going well then.
Oh, she has the gift!
I have no patience for your nonsense. If you value your life, you would do well to relinquish the gift.
You're still very much dancing to Odin's sorry tune, I see. I guess I have no choice but to...
What are you doing, Hilde? Was I not clear you were to return immediately after retrieving the artifact? So we meet at last, little Valkyrie. Oh, how I have longed for this moment.
Who are you? And what are you scheming?
Scheming? Why, nothing at all. I only came to see the face of the poor Valkyrie forced to slave away for the almighty Odin's all-consuming folly.
The All-Father hopes to save the world. Any who hinder him shall meet a swift death.
Did you ever stop to consider how he intends to go about saving the world? You've yet to realize that you are merely a pawn in his machinations. We shall cross paths again, my sweet, unwitting Valkyrie.
Think carefully about her words. She is more honest than Odin will ever be.
We hold our ground against the waves of monsters, but given they were like an endless tide, the team was saved by Odin himself. We then return to Valhalla as Odin disseminates new information.
I failed to warn you of her. Our adversary was once a second-class Aesir. She goes by the name Fenrir.
With our newfound information, Odin commands to let Fenrir and Hilde be for the time being, and continue the search for the remaining gift. As we scout around Romali territory once again, we meet our very dear friend. Don't worry, this will be the second to the last time, and I am sure you have figured out what is going on by the end of this one.
What are you...
Oh! Hey there, Maria.
You are still searching for your missing object?
You remembered that? Yeah. Still no luck.
Do you truly believe that what you seek still remains in this world?
Who knows? It's a person, after all. The love of my life, actually.
Your lover? And you have been searching for her ever since?
Yeah, pretty much. She means the world to me. A lot of folk have told me to give up, but I just can't, you know? Not until I find her.
We can help.
What now?
No, pay that no heed. Forget that I said it.
What?
Well, thanks all the same.
Valkyrie once again experiences a flashback. To save some time, it reiterates that Armand is searching for his lover and is being told already to give up the search. Here's the most critical detail of the flashback.
It feels like I've been to every corner of Midgard, but I still haven't found you. I can't even remember your face.
He can't remember her face. What a coincidence. I wonder who it could be. If you have played the original Valkyrie profile, you know where this is headed. Even if you didn't, I'm quite certain that you do as well. Sad to say that this is an inferior retelling of the original story, and more of it will come in the near future. As we leave Armand to search for his very mysterious missing lover, we encounter another character for the nth time.
I'm afraid the gift is no longer here.
I took it too.
Hilde, how many times must you hinder us?
This will be the last.
What do you mean?
I am done with your idiocy. Your faith in Odin.
She isn't wrong.
Your obedience to his will. All of it.
No more of your discourses, then.
No more. Prepare to meet your end.
He just dies like that after he beat her? We once more defeat her, and here is the result.
Ah, Hilde. Do you yield?
But why? Why obey Odin's commands when you clearly possess so much power?
Just tell her already. We all know she's stupid.
Why ask such a meaningless question? We Valkyries exist to...
So you still don't have the faintest idea of Odin's true purpose for collecting all those souls?
Just forget, tell her, like at the very beginning.
What nonsense is this now? I have been purifying the souls for...
Ha! You don't still believe that lie, surely?
She does. Had you told her from the very beginning.
Do not move. You shall not escape me this time.
I can't. There's still so much I must do!
Just friggin'...
Ah! Wait!
You choose not to tell her. Imagine being a passenger of a car, and the driver's driving at 200 kilometers per hour. Naturally, you would say, hey, slow down, we might get into an accident. But apparently, for this game it's, oh, you're still driving at 200 kilometers per hour. What a clumsy way to drive the plot forward, and once again, just to pad out the game's length. Even as her and Harrier are beginning to express doubt of Odin's motives, Valkyrie continues to be loyal and makes her report. Suffice to say, Odin was not pleased.
You worthless imbecile! You had one task.
This is so funny.
Are you so inept that you forgot what failure means for us? The world will be destroyed if you do not bring me those gifts. Failure is unacceptable.
Please forgive my incompetence.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Enough.
You need pancake, you need something to eat to get through this.
Track down Fenrir.
We are then ordered to track down and kill Fenrir in what is called the Serpent's Nest, which also serves as the final map. As I slog through some more subquests and maxing out the skill trees and weapons, I head out for the Serpent's Nest, slogging through even more waves upon waves of opponents. It seriously gets very tiresome towards the final chapters, as some of them can get as ridiculous as 4 to 5 waves of undead. We are then ambushed by a sentinel of Fenrir. This would have been great had the spots not been recycled already in the tutorial level. After defeating the Berserker, Fenrir makes her appearance with details of Odin's true motives.
Much like
You mean
your
Odin is a bad
Valkyrie.
guy? Oh my god.
What?
Oh, yes. Odin uses humans to create
Yeah, that's the thing with Hero.
servants,
It doesn't have the heart and soul of Valkyrie
all for the
profile.
purpose of
Absolutely
devouring
none.
more souls.
What do you mean, devour?
Souls are nourishment, a source of sustenance for we who stand.
You mean
above
Odin
all
is the bad guy?
else. Lesser deities harvest souls for higher-ranking gods to devour, bolstering their power. That is how it has always been.
With the truth revealed by Fenrir, Valkyrie still chooses to believe in Odin. Fenrir then escapes, and we return to Odin with the news. Obviously, he did not receive them well.
You let her escape. When you were presented with the ideal opportunity to slay her.
Please, forgive my incompetence, Allfather.
Need I remind you of the significance of your task? The fate of the world is in your hands.
It's just so lame.
Valkyrie.
This plot is so lame.
And as long as that treacherous wolf still draws breath, we risk failure.
There are no words to express my regret. But I swear, Fenrir will not go free again.
As we reach the final stretch of the story, remember when I mentioned that Verdant Blossom's text cannot be read? Unlike Hollow Blossoms where the only reward is for completionists of the game, Verdant Blossoms actually have a payoff. After retrieving the final Verdant Blossom, the text of all of them will be revealed. Much to my surprise, I honestly was not expecting that it will affect the story by unlocking the true ending. At the time, I did not even know that this game had multiple endings, so heads up, I unintentionally got the best ending in the game. The true story has been revealed. Yggdrasil, the tree of all life, feeds on the souls of the dead to create new life. It is the source of all souls. At times, a soul would attempt to defy death, and in response, Yggdrasil would call upon the gods to deliver these defiant souls back. However, eventually the gods themselves grew fascinated by these souls, and therefore ended up consuming it themselves. With the gods abandoning their duty, they simply consumed these souls, and the leftovers that fell back to Midgard became stagnated, becoming what we know as the undead. With the cycle destroyed, Yggdrasil would eventually die, thus beginning Ragnarok, the end of the world. The world thus became stuck in an endless loop of death and rebirth. It is also written in the prophecies that Odin will meet his demise through a wolf, thus his hostility toward Fenrir. Fenrir in turn eventually spiting Odin, and while imprisoned, was freed by a Valkyrie, bringing about the Asgardian war that consumed the world. With the world in such disarray, the threat of Ragnarok looms once more. With the knowledge of truth in hand, we set course to right the wrongs to restore the world to its original state. However, before doing so, we converse with someone one last time, and another truth is revealed. I will get straight to the point. It is revealed that Armand and Valkyrie, whose real name is actually Nora, are lovers. Odin, in an effort to search for a Valkyrie to do his bidding, abducts Nora as she possesses a pure of heart, erasing both her memories, as well as a portion of Armand's in the process. With their memories returned, I was given two choices on how to proceed. The first is either to press forward and finish what we started, or go away with Armand to live life in peace. Given what is at stake, I obviously chose the former, as it will mean saving the world, then doing the second choice right after.
And as a god, there is still something that must be done.
But you have to be the one to do it.
I am the only one who can. And if I run from it now, I shall regret it forever.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. I'm just bitter I can't go with you. Go. I'll wait for you.
Thank you, Armand. see you soon.
Good luck out there, Nora. Be safe.
As I fight my way through more hordes of undead, we eventually reach a chasm where the team dives in, leading into Niflheim, the domain of Fenrir. As we ventured further, we stumbled upon Hilde battling undead. We assisted her in battle, and soon afterwards, both Valkyrie and Hilde shared each other's memories. It is revealed that Hilde once served as Odin's Valkyrie, but she was ultimately betrayed as Odin slayed her parents and has set course on getting revenge against the gods ever since. The two decide to reconcile and to work together to restore order to the world.
You're right. All I want is to kill those wretched gods. Be they good or evil, it doesn't matter to me.
I see.
But I owe you my life. And for that, I can wait. At least until you have asked your questions.
Okidoki.
Then let us go to Fenrir.
As we confront Fenrir, Valkyrie asks what she intends for the world. Fenrir's answer is that the world needs at least one god to survive, hence why she should not be killed. In response to Fenrir's arrogance, Hilde tells her that she has been plotting to kill both her and Odin, and was only pretending to work with her. Fenrir becomes enraged upon learning this and attacks the Valkyries. Stellar writing, I know, but it is what it is. The battle against Fenrir was admittedly tough at this point. I honestly was just eager to get it done. So instead of trying to get a grasp of her attack patterns, I just opted to be a bit more aggressive, while just consuming my potions to power it through. I mean, what good is it to save my potions at this point, as the game is about to reach its conclusion? With the fall of Fenrir, Valkyrie now faces whom she once called Master, and confronts the truth face to face.
Explain yourself!
The veil has been lifted from our eyes, All-Father, to the true meaning of this world, of the souls you amassed, and of Ragnarok.
Oh, indeed. Yes. There is conviction in your words, and a resolve in your eyes. So then you know that everything I have done was a necessity, to prevent the world from fading into the void.
Do you think that justifies exploiting and toying with the souls of those who have perished?
A farmer does not mourn for his livestock, and neither can a god mourn the passing of every human soul. That is just how the world has managed to exist since time immemorial, and it shall continue to be so.
So, you finally show your true nature. Then hear this, Odin. We two demigods shall form ourselves into one true deity and bring salvation upon this world. That is our answer to you.
What arrogance! This is defiance, shameless and unforgivable. I have protected this realm as All-Father since its genesis. And you half-beings dare to take it away from me?
Uh-huh.
You have only ever protected your precious throne, Odin. The world never meant anything to you.
It is here we bring an end to the machinations of a vile god.
What? Just transitions? And the final showdown begins. This would have been a good final battle stage had it not been a recycled area from the tutorial. The initial battle with Odin is pretty much the standard boss fight. No significant changes in strategy in comparison to literally all of the boss fights I have undertaken in the game. The most special move I probably made is to properly guard his attacks in order to counterattack, and for healing and soul replenishment to release. After the first battle, Odin does his "this is not yet my final form" transformation. It goes without saying for JRPGs that final battles need to go on at least twice. At the very least, Soleil got that correct. As the real final battle begins, Odin is very tanky, but that is the nature of final battles. I will give credit to this last battle, as it finally added much needed depth in combat, as this fight entailed swapping of elemental divine arts, or Einherjar summons, as Odin kept changing his elemental weakness throughout the fight. Too little too late to pull off, but I suppose it can be said that it is better late than never. Not before long, I managed to defeat Odin and end the gods' tyranny. As a fan of the Valkyrie series, I believe that I am doing a disservice by not showing the signature move of the game. So without further ado, here it is.
My duty as All-Father. I have failed.
Incredible.
Creating a new world would certainly be possible with this much power. So, what do you intend to do with it?
The only thing that we can do.
Destroy the chair!
The gods were foolish in neglecting their duty. They let greed blind them and used the souls for their own gain.
And so the world is restored. Yggdrasil has been revived, and souls once again can return to the world tree and begin anew, including Valkyrie's Einherjars. Valkyrie laments that they are parting ways, but her Einherjars tell her that they will be back, and they will see each other again. With her duty accomplished, Valkyrie makes her return to Armand, and they live happily ever after. And as the credits roll, I express a sigh of relief.
Will the world ever go back to normal?
It'll all be okay, Nora. As long as we have hope, we can do just about anything.
Hope. You're right. I think we'll be okay. This world belongs to everyone now.
I'd like to assume this is the best ending. So, to answer the question, Valkyrie Elysium, is it good? Unfortunately, with a heavy heart, I have to say no. The visuals, level design, and soundtrack are average at best and uninspired. Combat can get far too repetitive, and the camera can get wonky, especially later on in the game, when there are numerous enemies on the screen. Puzzles to break the ice are unnecessary and a nuisance. Combat progression is not optimized, as unobtainable gems are used to wall progression. Enemies and even bosses are recycled far too many times relative to the game's length. Speaking of the game's length, I spent a little over 20 hours to finish the game, but that is because of all the lackluster methods they used to pad out the game length. Otherwise, just finishing the main story alone will probably take you less than 10 hours. Subquests are a slog, and should not have to be done one at a time. Einherjar backstories and dialogue are uninteresting and skippable. The compelling storytelling, which I believe is what drew me into this franchise, is non-existent here. Instead, we get an inferior take of a story already told in 1999. Which is why I mentioned in my commentating that this game does not have the heart and soul of the Valkyrie profile games. As a Valkyrie fan, I cannot recommend this game. Unless you badly want new Valkyrie content, then I would pick this up for no more than $20. Or you can wait for the PlayStation Extra subscription, which I'm sure it will release there. If you are still here, I would like to say thank you very much, and you are more awesome than you know. Kindly like, comment, and subscribe if you liked the video. And before I end, here's a preview of the next game I will be covering. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Did they skip?
Power has been cut from this section of the ship. No matter how hard you try,
They skip.
you won't be able to open that door.
Elena?
The Astoria has fired on us. I'm sorry, but there's not enough time to save the cargo before impact. You have 1 minute.
That's more than enough time. Now help!
Yes, Captain.
No, hey, stop!
Whoa!
What you're doing? Elena!
Wow.
Elena!
She is strong.
Crew of the Aegis needs you. Good luck, Ray. And goodbye.